meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Chair, before we begin our meeting, I would like to request that we amend our agenda on item 7. This item is not prepared for us at this time to review for consideration and approval. That will be coming hopefully in the coming week. So I would like to request that we amend item 7. And just simply postpone it is what it amounts to.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Our first item is approval of the minutes from our last board meeting, April the 21st.
And I will abstain from voting due to not attending that meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The next item is the confirmation and approval of the claims.
You have your claims in your packet there for $578,319.77 for this month. When we do some looking at this, we'll see that our Fund 1 total is $135,747.84. We always like to do a comparison to this time last year so we can kind of see how our spending is going. And this time last year we were at $180,980.02 for a difference of $45,232 more. Before you celebrate though, let me share with you that this is mostly due to timing of payments. We did pay our bills slightly. It was necessary that we prepare the packet a little earlier this month, and so it's simply due to timing. There are some things that have not been paid yet that will be showing up on next month. So keep that in mind. When we look at in June, when we look at the May payments, we will be seeing probably a slight increase there. Let me share with you some of those timing issues. One would be the city of Bardstown. Last year we paid over $25,000 at this time for utilities. We also had other utilities with LG&E of $6,276 as well. One thing that did hold steady for us, and it's great news, is that the cost of diesel has decreased this past month compared to what it did a year ago. In fact, to the tune of around a $4,000 savings there. There's also some purchase of some cleaning supplies and whatnot that was a little lower this year than compared to last year. We buy that by bulk, usually about one time a year, especially this time of year for the upcoming summer, for obvious reasons. So that's pretty much our Fund 1 report there. In our Fund 4000, our debt service, the total is $12,686 that we're paying on bonds. So if there are any specific questions you have, I'd be glad to address those at this time. Everything is in good order in the claims, and if there's not any questions, I do ask for your consideration and approval.
On page 4 of the minutes, there's back there.
Page 4 of the munis report,
Yeah.
on page 4.
Page 9 of 216. There's down toward the bottom, $1,792 for Pennsylvania rent. What is Pennsylvania rent?
Pennsylvania Avenue, it's a child care building. Good question.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve claims.
We have a motion to approve the claims.
Second.
We have a second. those opposed? Ayes have it. Next is our financial report.
We provided you with a financial report today, and the first thing we want to share with you is that this past year's tax collection, we're almost at 100%. It's absolutely amazing, and really proud of the work that the tax office has done this year, and also thank our community for the great support in paying those in a timely fashion. We actually probably will see around a $2,000 increase for that last 1 or 2 percentage there that sometimes we're not able to get. So very good news there. You may not see an increase in the balance so quickly. There is the public service certificates that those will receive a little later, and sometimes that revenue will be delayed in the projected ending balance, but in the end we'll catch that up. GASB 68, I know you're familiar with those accounting guidelines that we have to follow. They stipulate that a proportionate share of the KTRS must be shared by all school districts. This is the Kentucky Retirement Plan, and there is some money that we're going to have to account for on our books that we haven't had to in the past. Again, this is something new. It is we will receive this estimate in June for the 2014 amount, which will be entered in our fiscal year 15 statement. So we'll be working with our auditor, be sure we're in total compliance with that, but it is going to be something we haven't seen in the past. We also, on our financial report, have received a third offer of assistance from our KETS. You know, that's the Kentucky Technology Program. We have $15,929 that we just received, which would be a third offer. We had 2 that we already had in escrow for a total of $38,684. We put all that together, we came up with $54,613. What we do as a board is they give us those funds as long as we're willing to match them. So we're going to be able to take about $109,000 here and upgrade some out-of-date servers that we've had, some switches that we've been talking about for quite a while, which will put us in an excellent position when it comes to updating our Wi-Fi and some other things that were going to be necessary to do before we were able to increase that broadband. So that's all good news.
As I recall, that's about what, about a third of the wish list price?
Yeah, I'd say that's about right, Mr. Downs. Yeah, that's about correct. That's a pretty good step there for us. It's good that I think we can do it in increments as well.
Sure.
So, also, we do have a plan on our high school auditorium. As you know, that facility does have some age on it, and we have done some improvements there, but we're looking to do some other improvements in our sound, in our lighting, also in our stage curtains, and possibly some ceiling work in that area. We're going to be able to do this with some contingency that we've had left over from our roof project. Allows us to spend that money on those kind of projects. So we'll keep you informed on what our steps are, but we're hoping to really improve the aesthetic view of that auditorium. It's an awesome auditorium. It really is. Serpentine walls, things like that are not included in modern day school auditoriums simply due to the cost of that. So
will that happen this summer?
We hope to begin that process, but it's right now there's a great unknown on how quickly those people will, their workload that they have.
Right.
You know how that goes. And then the last thing I want to tell you about is an upgrade on the elementary playground. I think Dr. Hagan mentioned this last meeting, but we do have one of these projects where the PTO is stepping up, the school is stepping up, and we're going to step up, and it's going to be a $55,000 improvement on a much needed playground area at the elementary school. Also, you may note there on the front of your treasurer's report, there is a bank report, and note, of course, that it is an agreement. The bank statement, it has been reconciled. you have any questions there, I'll be glad to address those, but that's pretty much where we are, what we're doing in the way of finances.
Thank you very much. Our next item is our superintendent's report.
Do we have to approve that? I need to take a break.
Okay?
You can do that?
I have a question, since you said take a break. Where does our community lie in reference percentile wise? You said we're almost 100% of the tax getting back. That seems astonishing to me. Are we way and above the average community, or is there, where?
Well, Tracy, you can help us with this.
Great
Tracy
number.
worked in that office for years, so she has a lot of good experience there. Tell us about maybe previous years.
I would say that it's consistent with other independent districts for the mere fact that most independents collect their own tax, whereas county districts
see.
by statute have to contract with the sheriff's department
I see.
to collect the tax.
There's a
So,
difference there.
yeah, and usually they will have in-house staff like we do, and there's just more cooperation, I think, with independents, with the constituents, so.
Nice.
And do you think the new systems we put into place have made a difference?
I think-
Collection or just on our end?
I think it probably has, because of the fact that when you have a tax bill in the system now that you see, you can also see past years that they may have. So it's probably, I don't know exactly that she does this every single time, but I would say that she's conscientious of that when someone is here and paying, sharing that information with them. I know that that's a practice that we've done over the years, to make contact with delinquents, so that they're cognizant of it at the time that they're paying their current bill also. But I think it's a sign too of, honestly, the good rates that we have. People are refinancing. You can't have outstanding tax bills if you're refinancing,
Right,
that kind of
right.
thing. So it's a sign that the economy's improving, so more people have money. I know in years past, our rate has been 97%, 98%, so it's very, very high. But this
What was
is
the county's rate?
Incredible. You know, I don't know. Never inquired.
So would you say that the teacher's retirement fund is in trouble?
I don't know that it's in trouble, but it does certainly need some attention. And I think we've done our part as employees, as retirees and school districts. So, you might recall, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, that the plan was that it would be in thirds. Employees and retirees would do a third, school districts would do a third, and the state would do a third. And from what I understand, we've done our share.
And that takes effect this year, this coming fiscal year?
Well, that's been going on for,
I mean, as far as our contribution.
well, we've been
We,
making.
I know we already did one last year, but.
Yeah, I think it was a 6-year plan. And Mr. Downs, if you have any recollection of that, and feel free to jump in, but I think we're in the 4th year of a 6-year plan.
Right.
And we've been paying ours.
So we
as
only
go.
have 2 more years in theory to
Right.
cap it off.
Mhm.
Was it yesterday? Did they have a field day yesterday about the school? I was worried about them getting rained out, but I don't guess it ever did. They were setting up tents and booths and things. Was that yesterday?
Yes. I think that was yesterday.
No, it wasn't field day.
Oh, it wasn't? Well, it was just an event, a school.
Oh, school event?
Well,
Yeah.
The field day moved to the evening?
Yes,
The field day moved to the evening.
right, or battle of the classes.
Sure, because of time.
What, yesterday?
Less classroom interruptions. Actually, we
Yeah.
did that Friday evening.
On Friday?
I hear it all.
Yeah.
All right, we are at superintendent's report, and I will move on here. I wanted to let you know that although we are not in session today, so our students were unable to be here, We did want you to be aware that David Ferguson will be attending the Governor's School for the Arts. Larissa Heck, Haley Harnan, and Elaine Bishop were selected for Governor's Scholars Program. I'm really excited about those two. And then also, we have 2 FBLA teams that will be competing on a national level in Chicago, Illinois this summer. And one of those trips are in here for you to consider for approval. So we're certainly excited about what our students have accomplished here. And if all goes well, we'll have these folks come back in the fall. Perhaps those that will still be with us, and we'll have them report to you on their experiences this summer. So the next thing I'd like to tell you about is our TEL survey. In your recall, we've had quite a few conversations about the TEL survey. Teaching, empowering, leading, and learning is what the TEL stands for. It's a survey that we do as a state. It helps us measure how our working conditions, everything from, as you know, things like copying to job satisfaction to things, shared leadership questions, those kind of things. It's a pretty comprehensive survey. We have received that information. It is embargoed until June the 3rd. At the June meeting, we'll do some discussions on and present some of that information to you. The state average for participation rate was 89%. We exceeded that with 90.5% of our staff participated. We were just very excited about that. As you know, with all of our evaluation systems, we're using this important piece. You're using it with me. I'm using it with principals. Principals are using it with teachers. So this is a very valuable survey that we do. We do that on odd years. We've done it in 2011, 2013, and now we have it for 2015. So again, we'll be sharing you some of that information. As you know, one of the growth areas that I told you that I'd be looking at for myself, I'll be presenting to you probably in June. We will select one of those areas, and I'll present that to you as a growth area as well to improve those percentages there. So good news there. And then the final thing that I have to share with you, probably one of the most exciting things, is for the 4th consecutive year in a row that Bardstown High School has been selected at silver medal status. And we're pretty excited about that. Actually, we're very excited about it. We're ranked 22nd in the state of Kentucky. We're ranked 1,984 in the nation out of 20,000 high schools. That puts us in the top 10% of all high schools in the nation. So I'm very proud of what our high school has accomplished, but in the same breath, we want to say that we're very thankful for what the school district has accomplished. The support that you provide to us, and it starts in the early childhood education center, and it works its way through. And we're reaping the benefits of not only what the high school is doing today, but also what our other schools have done in the past. So we all share this great award. I want to make you aware of that. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, thank you. Our next item is the approval of the fiscal year 2016 tentative budget.
Our tentative budgets, you know, we do this 3 times a year, and this is our 2nd time. We'll be bringing it to you one more time for final approval. But just to give you a bit of an update today, this budget will look a lot like last year's budget. Just a few things have changed. The budget is based on the typical 4% increase in tax revenue. This budget includes our state grants, our Fund 2 type grants. It does have our Fund 1 federal money included. We do not have that actual number at this point, but we have been told that it will be projected to be very close to what last year's number was, so we'll be using that number until further notice. It also includes a 2% mandated salary increase with the step increase along with it. As you know, in the school business, one of the most expensive expenses that we have is salaries, because we're a people business. And so 84% of our budget, which is in line with other school districts across the nation, does have to do with salary and benefits. We've been very fortunate. I'm very glad to be able to announce to you that we have no major changes in our staffing. Our staffing will be very similar to last year. In fact, there may be one or two places, not necessarily add. Overall, the number will stay about the same, right, Mr. Downs?
We're down just a little bit.
But they may be different in different schools. And that's due to the number of students there that work through the class. We may have a very large class, for example. That teacher may be bumped up, or that position be bumped up. Great news, though, that no one will be released or anything of that nature due to for staffing reasons. So again, we will be about where we were last year for the budget. Other sources of funding, income, we will be able to include, as we have in the past, a capital outlay in our building fund. As you know, capital outlay is designed for HVAC systems and roofs and things of that nature. We'll continue to be able to use those things in the general fund for those building type things, insurance, things of that nature. Also, our building fund for money that's not being used right now to pay on bonds, we're allowed to use that also in our budget, so that too will be included as a funding source. We hope, depending upon some of those funding sources that are not nailed down, like the title programs, that we don't have an exact amount yet, but we hope to have a contingency between 3% and 5%. Obviously, the higher we can have that percent, better in order to prepare for difficult times in the future. But it will be a solid between 3 and 5. 2% is what's required by the state, so we will be able to exceed that. House Bill 510 did provide us with some restoring of some of our funding for the 15-16 school year. We're still being faced with a difficult financial future for our state. It has not fully recovered yet. So we would want to consider this a very conservative budget. I think it's a very solid budget. And as I said earlier, it's going to look a whole lot like last year's, with just a slight increase here and there of obvious expenses that I've covered today. So that's a picture, a snapshot. There's 46 pages in the budget. I know you've had a chance to look at that. Didn't want to go over line for line, but I did want to try to give you an overview of how we pulled it together. I think it's a solid budget, and we are going to need your consideration of approval for that today.
Year over year, how much variance is there in the fund on average historically? I mean, 1%, 0.5%, 5%? It always stays pretty steady.
It's fairly steady, but the 4% increase of tax revenue probably is one of the bumps. SEEK doesn't increase a whole lot. It stays between 38 and 42, fluctuates a little bit. Tracy, would you say there'd be other increases there?
Not significantly in the last few years. It's offset by your salary and benefits increases. So you should consider that whatever we may make up in revenue, it's being offset by those expenses that we're accruing each year. So.
Right. Do we need approval?
Oh, we have to approve our tentative budget.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the tentative 2016 budget? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Our next item is approval of the independent auditor's contract for fiscal year 2014.
We have been, this past year, engaged in a contract with Smith & Company CPAs. It's really hard to believe that we are talking about next year's audit already, or the audit already, but it is that time. We will need, as one of the duties, as you can see in the contract of the Board of Education, is to provide your CPA with all the documents they need by August the 2nd. And so we're in the process of thinking about that, beginning to move towards putting things together and getting ready for this. So your job as a board we have to approve our auditor's contract in a timely fashion, and that would be today for us. So what we are proposing to you is that we stay with Smith & Company. We feel that they provided us with an excellent audit, and we do feel that they are, in a sense, they do what auditors do, but at the same time, they assist us in helping us correct areas that need our attention, and that was very valuable to us. And we feel like we had a good audit this year. We feel like we're going to have even a better audit next year due to this relationship of helping us identify areas. So I would ask that you consider approval of this contract with Smith & Company again. It is for a total amount of $12,000. This would be for a one-year contract and would need to be considered again next year. If we decide to go with a different company, we could do that as well at that time. This is the second year with this group, and we feel like it's a good idea. I think the state does have a recommendation after so many years. They do suggest that you move a little bit to a different company. But this would be our second year, and I think some continuity would be good for us.
Is there a motion to approve the auditor's contract?
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Our next item is approval of the certified evaluation plan.
Mr. Downs has presented this plan to you a month ago, and we've identified some areas to take a look at. You've had some time to look at it. Mr. Downs has met with multiple people I can tell you this is probably one of the documents. I don't know that we've spent this much time on very many documents. We've spent a lot of hours with a lot of different sets of eyes looking at it from a lot of different angles. So this, Mr. Downs is going to present his findings to you at this time, and we'll try to get an approval on this today if possible.
Well, just to update you on the process too, we started a couple of years ago in the professional growth and effectiveness new system, just learning about it. And then last spring, we got our 50-50 committee together, which is half administrators, half teachers, to begin the process of looking at this. We started that last spring, and we've met probably 7 or 8 times with that group. We've had a consultant from the CKEC come in, work with me. He's been here numerous times to work with. I even got a consultant out of Northern Kentucky to come in since our last board meeting to look at it. And then in our consolidated monitoring plan, our consolidated monitoring visit that we had week before last, there was a PGIS part of that, and I met with a man from State Park from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, talking about this plan. And so it's been vetted pretty well. I even know, even today, I found a paragraph that got left out of my, half the paragraph's in there, so I've got to fix that. But the way this will work, if we can get approval today, this document will be sent to the State Department. KDE will look through it again, and they will give us approval or give us some things we need to work on. But it'll be a pretty quick turnaround. Once we send this in, I think it's a 10-day turnaround, because we have to have this thing ready to go on July 1 for the coming year, because it's full blown for the next year. So there weren't any major changes, from just a few minor changes along the way. But I thought it'd be a good time now, if you had any questions about it at all, we could answer those. But the changes we made since last month were a few, but nothing that would change the document dramatically, just minor things. And I did run that by the 50-50 committee to make sure they were all on board with what we did. For example, I'll give you one example was on pre-conferences. We had that you had to have a pre-conference before every observation. Well, the consultant said, well, you may want to tweak that to May, because then you could never do unannounced visit. Or if you walked through and saw a terrific lesson, you wouldn't be able to use that as part of the process because you didn't have a pre-conference. So I made sure I ran that through the teachers, and the teachers said, well, that will be fine, except for let's make sure that on the final observation, there will always be a pre-conference. And so that's what we did. And so I think it's made it to a better document just by doing that. And so those were a few little things that we did along the way. One of the things is I added a page in the back that was a notice, because some of our people aren't covered yet under this plan. The state hasn't worked all the details out yet. So anybody that's not covered under this plan will stay on our old certified evaluation plan until a new one is developed for them. So that had to be stated in our CEP, so I made sure I added that to it. So I think we have a good document. We've worked very hard on it, and I would ask for your all's approval now, and we'll send it to the state, and I'll let you know what the results are next month.
It's all encompassing. I'm sure after this one year, when you put it in next year, you'll have some few more tweaks in it, but it's a good body of work. It's pretty impressive.
You're right, Mr. Sherman. I think that this document's probably, I've been doing this a long time. This is the best document that we've ever had for evaluation. Because it causes some very good conversations between principals and teachers, between superintendent and principals. And I think it's going to make a difference. And as I told you, what we use this document for is to improve teaching, improve our principals. It's not a gotcha kind of thing. It's to improve. So we're real pleased with it, and I think it'll make a lot of difference. Okay? Thank you.
We need to approve the evaluation plan and all that hard work.
Motion to approve the certified evaluation plan, 2015-16.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Our next item is approval of a contract, Mathematics Achievement Fund grant.
We're very excited to share with you today that we have applied and we have received a math achievement grant. And what this actually does, is a $41,000 grant to be used towards a staff member to assist in basically the primary grades for any student who is struggling meeting grade level or benchmarks in mathematics. It has to be a very highly qualified teacher, and there are certain assurances that we provide on what they consider highly qualified. That person's, the majority of their time is spent with those children with RTI and other intervention possibilities. So it is a 2-year grant. The problem with most grants, board members, is that you get a grant and then it expires in 2 years, and then you're left with deciding what you're going to do after 2 years, whether you have to find a way to fund that, or if you decide to go away from that. I think the good news for this is that in this particular grant is that we can reapply after the second year, and if we've made progress, then we have a very good shot, a very high percentage of receiving the grant again. I think this is a really fair way to do it, and we have every intention of making progress in that area. And if we're not, we probably should be doing something different. So it'll probably solve itself. But we have great confidence that we're going to make progress. Ms. Blackman has been working very hard, and I will tell you that we have looked at some possible applicants here. What I'm going to need from you today is for you to approve the grant, but also in the same motion, or if you want to do a separate motion, that's up to you. I need you to approve this position if you're agreeable to this situation. Again, the good news is the vast majority of this salary for this position is being covered by the grant per year. It'd be $82,000 in 2 years. And there may be a few incidentals of maybe some retirement or benefits that we will have to pay on top of that, but it will be a small somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3% of that. Again, there's two things you're approving, the math grant itself and then the position of math interventionist.
And this is the math interventionist for the primary?
It'll be for primary grades.
Grades.
It could be some elementary in that the state would consider, we call ours the primary school, but maybe
Gotcha.
primary grades.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussions or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We've got our interventions.
Thank you very much, and we will plan on presenting to you soon after we get started. Perhaps this time next year, next spring, we'll kind of be able to measure our success and give you some update.
When the motion was made, was that the grant and the person?
Thank you for clarification. Madam Shawna.
The next item is the summer therapy services.
I'll ask Mr. Boston to come forward, if he would.
Good morning or afternoon or a little bit in between lunchtime. Good to see you guys. Got two therapists, or two individuals that I'd like to get contracts before you on for summer therapy work. One of them is Miss Stephanie Blankenship, who will be providing some speech language pathology services over the summer with students that have been identified at risk of regression regarding their speech or language abilities over the course of the summer. And the second one is for Miss Lynn Bruner, one of our early childhood staff members, to continue some amazing progress that we're having with some young 3 or 4-year-olds up at our early childhood system. This particular position that Ms. Bruner is going to be doing is ABA style therapy. It's similar to some speech and language type activities, but it's something that is pretty unique to Bardstown preschool, something that we've been doing for the past couple of years and seen great benefits of little ones coming in the halls, unable to speak when they get to preschool and leaving preschool using full sentences and identifying staff members and so forth. So we're seeing some awesome movement with these kids, but there's that fear that over the summer break, without getting them in for at least a day or two a week, they could take some steps backwards. So we're just trying to keep that forward momentum going over the summertime.
Lord, for your understanding of why you would receive 2 contracts at this time of year, we typically put all of these in September, August, at the beginning of the year. Obviously, we don't know who these students are until this time of year that would need the continued services until school restarts.
Yeah, basically what we've done is we get the list of kids together amongst the schools and we review data that helps us determine which kids may be at risk for regression, and then we get with the parents and make sure there's an interest in them bringing them, and once we figure that out, we identify the staff who are willing to participate and get everything coordinated from that. So thank you for your consideration.
How are the students selected? Is it like based upon their what they've done this past year?
Yes, sir. Each student that's could be considered for this, we look at their IEP goals and we look at the progress that they've made over the course of the school year. And if we notice that a child maybe is not making progress at the rate that we hope they would during the school year, we may invite them in for some summer services to kind of help keep that going and ensure that when we start back in August, they're not further behind than they were when they left us.
Okay, and the parents have to give their okay, or
Yes, sir.
just that they're with you all?
I mean, most often than not, they're very excited and very grateful to get that in. A lot of times it's our kids that may come to us from First Steps as well, which is Kentucky's early intervention system. So some of these kids we've only had a short amount of time. If they were from First Steps, and maybe we got them in, I forgot what month we're in May. And maybe we got them in February. We haven't had them that long. We're seeing some progress. We want to keep that going to make that transition and that continuation in preschool even easier, or in primary school even easier if they're 4-year-olds that are transitioning. And parents are very, very thankful, very appreciative of it.
Thank you.
Had one mom we asked her the other day, she actually started tearing up saying, I was very hesitant to even ask, but I was going to ask you guys if there was anything I could do, or if you knew anywhere I could take him over the summer, because he's a different kid since he started at your preschool, and I don't want this to stop. she even asked me if it'd be okay if they went on family vacation. I said, well, that's up to you, but we're okay with him going on family vacation. I promise, we'll work around your schedule. So she was gonna forego her family trip to make sure that he kept acquiring more words and better use of language, and got some awesome things going on. So just want to keep them going.
Is there something they do when they're not attending up here, like homework or something?
You know, it depends on the age of the kiddo, and it depends on the level of knowledge and understanding of the parents as well. We oftentimes try to give activities that can be done at home. And the good thing about the type of activities we do, especially in the summer, is a lot of times we'll try to make home packets for them to work on. Let's say they come on Tuesday, well, they're not gonna come again till the next Tuesday. We try to give some type of activities or some type of an outline that the parents can be working on with them while they're not here.
Very good. Very good.
All right, thank you guys.
So we need an approval for the summer therapy services. Contract, we can do them together or? Can we get a motion to approve them together?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's approved. Our next item is approval of the 2015-16 agreement for cooperation on full utilization of Head Start. We do this every year.
We do this every year. You are familiar with it, but it is a year thing. So I'll give you a bit of a rundown on what we're trying to help accomplish. First of all, these are federal dollars that we're talking about here. And basically what we're saying is that we're agreeing to cooperate fully with the Head Start program, and we will not compete for the students. This federal money is set aside to assist. Obviously, we give them our full support. We work with them, and that's what they want from us. So these students that are eligible for these services are 4-year-olds that are economically disadvantaged, or a 3- or 4-year-old that has a disability. And so what we're saying is that we will help them recruit, we will help them find these students, we will do everything we can to assist them to get those students. And there is a certain number that they must reach, and we have done an excellent job, our track record over the past years in making sure that we help them. So this is an assurance, and this will require a signature on this document saying that we do agree, and we will provide these assurances for this worthy program. So.
It's the 50th anniversary of this.
Is that right?
Is there any, is there a motion to approve local agreement?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second, but I have a question. Just because I can't remember, but do we provide any facilities or help them? I mean, I know we do transportation,
Well,
right?
no, we're not doing transportation.
No.
They actually had, funding for transportation, and that transportation funding was cut, which, now that you mention this, makes it even more difficult for us to help them get their quota of students
Okay.
into their Head Start program, because they do not provide transportation.
Okay.
It's even harder.
All right. I know that has changed.
We rise up to the challenge.
Okay.
We will continue to help them.
That was a second.
That was a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Our next item is approval of the dates for our board meeting, July
That's
through December.
a little unusual to come to you with a half a year. Let me do some explaining to you here. Based on this KRS 160.270, the Board of Education must set their meeting dates at the beginning of each calendar year, is what this amounts to, instead of fiscal year. So what we're going to do is we're going to approve up to December the 15th. In December, we'll come back to you with a complete year of dates and times. It's just a matter of housekeeping here.
Seems like we went through this last year. Shouldn't time also be on there?
You can add time to that. so-
It
We'll
just-
be happy to add time to that.
And I was,
And so, okay.
I can also add location too, so we'll put that information on there, time and location.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approval of travel authorizations. We got some people traveling.
Well, we do. We have 4 of those for you. We have 3 of those in the original packet, and 1 came in a little bit late. It's there at your station in paper copy, and it's also in your Dropbox, but it may not be with those first 3. So we'll look at each of these individually and then see how you want to handle them. The first is Future Business Leaders of America will be traveling to Harrodsburg. It will be an overnight trip, and that's why it's coming to you. It will be properly chaperoned with 7 to 1 chaperone, and they will be traveling, let's see,
Hardensburg.
Hardsburg, but the date on that is in the summer, June the 10th and 12th, okay? That's 1 trip there. The second will be a basketball, which will be an overnight and also out of state. And they will be traveling on June the 15th, 1 night over. And there are 25 students, and there'll be an 8 to 3 chaperone there. That is basically a team basketball camp is what that amounts to, if you're wondering about that. And then in our third one will be our FBLA again. They'll be going to the national competition, June the 28th through July the 2nd. Again, they will be traveling to Chicago, Illinois, and that will be an overnight, obviously out of state travel, as well as air travel, commercial travel. So they meet the requirement for all of those. It'll be there'll be 4 total students, and there'll be 2 chaperones going with them, 1 male, 1 female. And then the fourth item that is in addition to the request today is the middle school. They will be making a trip to on June the 1st. This is part, I know you've heard about their Renaissance program. It's quite an extensive program. This is a end of year kind of activity to recognize these students for what they have accomplished. This will take place on Monday, June the 1st. They will be traveling just across the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana. Think about all that bridge construction up there. It makes you wonder if there will be a bridge, but I'm sure there'll be one way or another to get across there at that time. So this will be a larger group of students that will be going, a good number of teachers. That'd be at least a 1 to 25 chaperone there. So, and it's just a day trip. The question is they're crossing state lines. So there's 4 of those. We would ask you to be sure and ask us any questions. If you have any concerns, we'll address those. If not, ask for consideration and approval.
Motion to approve travel authorization in total.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a second? You want need more time?
And I just always have to ask, if this is for all children that meet the eligibility.
And you know
Not
what the good news
special
is?
ed, or, I mean, not.
I knew you would ask that question, so I am well prepared. And the answer is yes. Everyone
Thank
that was
you.
eligible gets to attend
Thank you.
regardless of financial situation or whatever. No one is
Good.
left out. And I always appreciate you asking that question too, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have, is that a question?
No, I'm good. That's all I needed.
Okay, we have an approval, and we get a second. Second, okay, we're ready to vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next is personnel, resignation.
Yeah, let me make you aware of some personnel things that have taken place. We have 2 certified teachers that will be resigning, and we're certainly going to miss them. You'll see there Natasha Kramer and also Mark McLaurin. These are good situations. Folks are leaving for other jobs in another profession in one of those cases. Then we have 2 just stipend type resignments. We have Ms. Hilton, assistant cheer coach. She's going to resign that spot. And Michelle Puckett will be resigning her BMS speech and drama coach. So just make you aware of those situations.
Next item is approval of leave of absence request.
Got 3 of those for you this time around. We have Ms. Megan Andrew, Ms. Jennifer Madley, and Rachel Woods are all have requests. These are educational leave from Ms. Woods. We have a medical leave from Ms. Madley and a maternity leave from Ms. Andrew. Basically, everything's in good order. The Family Medical Leave Act paperwork is attached for those it's appropriate. Request that you approve these items.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? If there's not anything else, your site-based decision-making council minutes are in your packet. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?